Good afternoon, Americans. This is your favorite alien and Bubba here on the afternoon of Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. Stand by for commentary. Well, today's commentary is on ceasefire. This is what everybody's clamoring for in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict that's going on right now over there in Gaza and Israel, in the West Bank, to a certain extent. Since I've been here in planet Earth, since 1970, I've seen numerous ceasefires between Israel and either the Palestinians or the Arabs, or a combination of both. The last one was in 2014. Gaza took a beating, huh? Yeah, right. But what have those ceasefires accomplished? Well, the only accomplishment that I've seen them done is in 1973 with the Arab-Israeli War, where Egypt changed his mind under Anwar Sadat, and he paid the price for it. They killed him. And Mahatma Begin paid the price for it in Israel, because there was hardliners on both sides. And this is the problem with the hard line. If you have a ceasefire here, the people in the West Bank of the Palestinians in the West Bank and the Palestinians of Gaza have to make a decision. The Palestinians on the West Bank have to say, we were partitioned back in 1947, and we were put here by the United Nations and the British in the West Bank, and some of them were put there in Gaza. We have developed two separate entities here. Do the West Bank Palestinians have to decide two things? One, they have to acknowledge Israel's right to exist, and Israel has to acknowledge their right to be there. And also Jordan has to acknowledge their right to exist too, because they were put part of Jordan. Okay? The Israelis in 1967 annexed that part. Same with the people in Gaza. They were part of Egypt. In the 1967 war, Egypt annexed you. So you'll have to come to terms with three things here if you want this ceasefire to be the last one. Otherwise, you're going to just lick your wounds and try to help Hamas rebuild. Not you rebuild, but Hamas rebuild their infrastructure and weapons and stuff like that, and go at it again. Like you did in 2014, you rebuild after that, and you went at it again this year. Or do you want to step aside and say, Hamas, we don't need you no more? And international community, we want to be part of the international community, but we want safeguards against the Israelis. And the Israelis. The Palestinians have a right to exist. They were partitioned just like you were. You didn't have no say-so in 1948, neither did they. But we are not responsible for the deeds of our ancestors, and it's been 70 years, and you just can't go throw the 70 years out of this. So we're going to have to do something unique here. Establish a documentation that says the Palestinians on the West Bank and the Palestinians on Gaza, whether separate or together. And that's what the Palestinians have to decide. Do they want to be separate or together? Because they've formed different entities in these last 70 years. And do you want to become two separate entities? you're going to be vastly different, just like Pakistan and Bangladesh are today. They're vastly different. They started out the same, but they're vastly different. So you started out the same back in 1948, and you're vastly different today. And if you want to go your separate ways with the West Bank, you occupy very strategic place in human history in the West Bank. Most of the stuff from the Christianity, the Muslims, and earlier religions happen there. The Mizrahi religion and everything there, because there was some stuff that went on before your religions came around in that area. So, if you want to declare yourself a Terran society, which means you don't need military forces, and the Terrans have to mine your sovereignty and make sure that your sovereignty is protected at all costs. Same with the Israelis. If you mind their borders and let them be who they are and you be who you are. And during the decades to come, you both are the same people. You came from the Arcadians, whether you're Arabs here and the Palestinian or you're Israelis. You're Arcadians. You were all the same people a long time ago. You just went to different branches. To put it this way, you are like the Romulans and the Vulcans in Star Trek. Same people, offshoots. And soon, somewhere along the line, you became offshoots of each other. Still the same people. Whether you're Jewish or whether you're Muslim, you're still the same people. Akkadian descendants. What are you going to do? You got differences that you say can't be surmounted. Yes, they can. If you make the human culture number one and your differences number two, you can surmount your differences. My society had differences all over the place, and we surmounted all of them. It took us a few centuries, but we did it. Did we give up who we were and our ancestors? No. But we made a society that works for everyone in the society. And this is what you got to do. It's going to take you decades, maybe even a couple of centuries to do this. But number one, you got to get rid of the hatred and the bigotry and the religion. And don't forget the politics. You got to get rid of all that. And what you get in return outweighs what you give up. You guys in the West Bank, you're in a very interesting place on Earth. That should be an open area for Earthers, especially the Western Hemisphere, which are mostly Catholics and Christians, and the Muslims. If they allow the right to exist of other races, not other races, but other pigmentations and other ways of thinking. But there's only one way of thinking. It's a human culture, and that's what you guys got to develop. For you on the Gaza Strip, you guys are worse because you guys got Hamas. You got to get rid of Hamas. And you got to figure out what you got in the Gaza Strip that makes you special. The guys in the West Bank have it. You guys don't. But you have made enemies of both the Egyptians and the Israelis. Same with the guys in the West Bank. You made enemies of Jordan. They threw you out of Jordan. And to me, Jordan is a nice state. Muslim, but it's nice. Under King Abdullah and King Hussein, it's been nice. Or do you want to just have a ceasefire and rebuild your hatred capability and forget it about the people who lost their lives? Just like other ceasefires have gone, and you forget about them. You have to give up a lot. Both you and the Israelis have to give up a lot here. And you have to have people like the Egyptians and the Jordanians, because they are part of this agreement too. This is part of the partition. They lost this in 1948, so they should be part of this. Until you decide what you want to do, and you Americans who are clamoring for ceasefire, do you know what a ceasefire really is? No. Because you never had a ceasefire. Your wars have ended with unconditional surrender. Appomattox in 1865, Spanish-American War in 1898, World War I, World War II. The only one you have that's still going is the Korean War, where you have an armistice. And that just means we won't shoot you today. We might shoot you tomorrow. See what I mean? Is that what you want, Israelis and Palestinians, to be like the Americans that are operating under an armistice with the Chinese and the North Koreans that say, we'll blow you up tomorrow, but we won't do it today. Maybe not. Well, I'll get back to you later on that. Is that what you want? This is your favorite alien in Bubba. And this is what I say about your ceasefire. It's worth nothing unless you make it worth something. Good day.